Okay, we're on. Welcome everybody here and out there. So, Stampede Week in Calgary. It's probably busy in Stampede, not on the streets. So that's not a bad thing for us. Okay, so today our talk will be on what is the value of God to you? And we'll get into that. And then how much value are we creating with God's mind, or what you think is the higher power in our lives? What kind of value we are creating with that? And then I'm going to share a couple of, actually, one step that I found to be extremely beneficial. But before I get into this topic, it's one of my favorite talks actually. I want to share an experience with you. And this is not a story, but this actually happened. I was 1992, month of March. I was still seeking and aggressively seeking. Aggressive, not really truth. I just thought I'll go right directly to the source. So I was looking for God, whatever that meant. And the lenses through which we see God in India was very simple. I always felt as a child it was some person sitting somewhere much, much higher who knew everything, who was absolutely in control and could help. So I'm looking for God because I'm looking for answers. I want to know why I'm on this planet. And that was my search basically. So of course, we have lots of astrologers, we've got channelers, we've got many other mediums, but that I was going to, not to find out as such what would happen to personal me, but it was what am I supposed to do on this planet? Like, I've already come of this age and I cannot figure out that what I should be doing. So I didn't know the word calling then, but I just felt called, that I felt I should be doing something and it's time and I don't know what to do. So for that reason, I was seeking God. So this story, I had a business then, and it was a wholesale retail clothing business, which took me to Madras, India, South India. And when I got there, I asked a friend of mine that I've heard there's very realized, self-realized astrologers or self-realized souls in this part of India. And would you know somebody who could read my soul and tell me what I'm supposed to do? Because I know there should be something, but I don't know what. So she said to me, yes, there's a man, but, and she says 90 years old, 5 years ago, but he's amazing. He'll look at you and he'll tell you everything. So I said, okay, I need to see him. She said, I don't even know if he's living, we'll try. So that was the end. I told her to send him to my hotel next day in the morning, because I was leaving at 2:00 flight to Delhi. So next day morning, 8:00, I get a call from reception and they tell me there's this old man who wants to see me and he gives my name and that I would be expecting him. So of course I'm very excited. This, man has arrived out of, we don't know, like he should be 95. So I'm very excited to meet him. So they said, but he wants you to come down. So I go down, somehow we bring him up. Old man, looking over 100 maybe, he looks really old, very, very fragile. And he just but the sharpest eyes, he looks into my eyes and then he says, take me upstairs to your room. So we go up, the manager comes. So many people saw him there, they saw us going up. So we go there and I throw my horoscope at him that, okay, tell me. So he said, I don't need your horoscope. So anyways, he says, but I do need to confirm who you are, because this message is, for a person. And then he describes that you should have a spot on your body, this color here. And I said, no, I don't have that spot. He says, then this message is not for you. So I'm thinking, what the heck, so I said, now what? He says, no, go check. So I go into the bathroom and I actually find that color and that spot there. So I run out and say, okay, I've got it. Tell me. So he says, where are you from? He doesn't speak English. He's speaking broken Hindi. And little Andhra makes, so I'm able to understand him. And I didn't want to tell him I'm from Canada because I thought he'll just charge me unnecessarily more money, you know, how we think. So a small mind want a big answer with no money at all, free. That's Indian view, you know. So, so I tell him that I'm from Delhi. So he looked at me and he said, "You're not." He says, "You have two girls. Your house," he describes in Canada, he describes totally. And he says, "Right now, your brother is with the girls, feeding them food, making this." And he describes where the kitchen is, he describes everything. So I'm in shock. This man knows like too much. And then I didn't need validation as such, but he was just telling me that I don't need to lie, you know. So that was a strong message for me, basically. So it was not. And then he also told me that you're coming out of this and you will do one more business, then the business you do next will be with God. So, and the business will be tea. And after that trading, you'll do, partner will be God. So I said, how does God become a partner? And he said, easy. You know, when God chooses you, then God will support you. And I said, "Well, how am I supposed to make money?" And he said, look, he says, God is doing the work. You're going to get the credit. So what's your problem? And you can, whatever money you want, all you have to do is ask and you will get it. Just ask and you will get it. So what will the business be? He says, I don't know. That's between you and God. So, and he says, I just want to tell you that you don't need to be talking to God all the time for these answers, because now you should stay put, go back to your home. And he says, stay there, don't leave, and don't do any techniques, nothing. He says, just sit, and God will find you. He says, how? So I said, how will God find me? He says, so he started to smile, and that's it. So I said, nothing else? He says, no. When God becomes your partner, what more should I say? So I said, well, what is my job? He says, well, you can see divinity in human beings. And when you see it and when you talk to them, you can awaken that divine nature. And that's your job. And that's why you were chosen to do this work. So you can stop anybody in the mall, anywhere, and you can awaken that divinity in them. I said, okay. I haven't seen it in myself yet. I'm still seeking. But anyways, so I offer him money. He says, no, I don't need your money. I said, should I be praying for something? He says, whatever you want to pray for. And so I said, give me a phone number. And he said, what do you need my number for? So I said, just in case I have other questions. And he says, well, God will, when you find God, all your questions will be answered. You won't need me. So then I'm insisting that you have to give me a number, you know. So he says, okay. So we write down he speaks something, and I write down on a piece of paper. Anyways, next day, or that day, I go to Delhi, and here's my brother-in-law's friend who says to me that, hey, Ruby, I want to ask you for a favor, that you're trading other goods from India. Can you take my tea that I want to sell in Canada? I said, I'm not into tea. He said, well, he says, we're not asking you to do trading. He says, you just locate a warehouse and get us a broker. And they own tea gardens in India and stuff like that. And then I thought, funny, I said, I just met this man who said, one last thing you'll do will be tea, and then it's time, God will find you. And he said, really? So you know how Indians are really into this. If you tell them there's a good pundit, everybody will be calling. So we want to know badly our future, you know. Never mind living it, we just want to know what it is. So anyways, they said, give me the number. I give them the number. They make the call, and the answer was, there's no person of that description who lives here. So you must have gotten the wrong number. So then I give them the number for my friend who had actually sent this man. And when we called her, she said, oh, I'm so sorry. She said, I could not trace him. I couldn't trace him. She never sent anybody.
Oh my.
So when this happens to you, what are we supposed to do? What happens when this happens to you? So it's not about, we people are so small and kind of little minded that we get excited when we can manifest a parking lot, when we can manifest $20 on a lottery ticket or something like that, right? You're thinking of a person and the person calls and you think you've manifested that, right? But I'm talking about something that so large, so big, that talking to God, and the man appears from I don't know where. He says he's come to deliver a message, and he delivers the message that what is the gift and what I will do, and how I should do it. Be still and go home and do nothing. So there was nothing to be done when I came back. So this story, it was a miracle for me first. But as I started to mature, I realized that the powers, the unmanifest, the unknown powers that lie within us all. And if we had a bigger goal, what else could we manifest? I don't mean in terms of things. So our topic today, I love discussing this because I don't like to talk about who is God, because that's none of my business to describe. That's my personal relationship of what I think divine could be. I don't talk about how to find it, because that's again was never an issue for me. But our relationship, human relationship to their highest power, to God, what does that look like? Now that I'm interested in. And what does that look like? So if we have three lenses, one may say, that all of us probably use, and we keep moving from one lens to the other. We can easily shift our consciousness and move it. So one of the lenses is simple, that God is very personal. It's a man or a woman somewhere. There's a heaven somewhere. There's a hell. There's reward, punishment. It is watching you. It will. So you better do the right thing. There's an ethical code. There's commandments probably that go with it. So God is present, but always somewhat outside of you in this lens. It's outside of you. And we are the sinners, we're never complete, we may never get there. So try. And if you are good and worthy, you may get some favors. So that was the model usually practiced by quite a few religious platforms. And then we've got the more maybe scientific God of science, that where actually you see it as consciousness, it's everything. It's not one person, it is nature, it's everything. When we come to that lens, it's interesting because we start to develop a harmony with nature and the cosmos. And we want to explore then what else is there. So it doesn't give you that fear of God, fear of life. It doesn't give you the fear of anything there. It rather gives you curiosity to be able to explore more. So that lens is quite pretty too. Each one has its own benefits and how humans create effects on this. So, and then the third model lens that also somewhere I fell into this is just I am that. And I am. And you just station yourself, you stabilize yourself in your personal consciousness, but personal consciousness not as me and mine. It's not just the name. It's basically I am the consciousness, but I'm living as the person. I'm living this specific form as that. So then the system changes. It goes to meditation. The first model may be prayers more so, or maybe some meditation, but here actually it comes to self exploration. You watch the mind. You actually very, very closely watch the thoughts. You start to become a god of your mind at some level, because you know that everything filtering through your mind is your reality. So you don't want to slip, you don't want to forego those thoughts. And so you look at your dark side, you look at your right side, you look at all sides. So it's a life path. Self-growth becomes the goal or the path in a way. And that is passion, that is purpose. Purpose is not actually now to so much attain enlightenment, because we all know that, how do you describe enlightenment? So it's like that old monk, somebody who was enlightened, and They said, what do you do, now? And he says, chop wood, fetch water. He says, what did you do before you were enlightened? Chop wood, fetch water. So how do you know at some point? There's no real clues or something for others, but I guess the person themselves are at somewhat rest, not stillness, not peace, not mental peace, but stillness. Stillness is very different than mental peace, right? So now humans have this very interesting nature that they can go from anxiety, extreme anxiety, to extreme enthusiasm in split seconds. We can actually sway so much that there's a lot of wear and tear upon us, because just our ability to sway from one thing to the other, there is, because when we are swaying, we can change the lens, we can do this. Also, when God is outside, there somehow it's a bit tormenting, because people don't know what to do with themselves at all times. There's really no code of ethics except what religion has given you. So, and the world is changing, we are evolving, human consciousness is evolving. We can't be following a model that's 500 or 3,000 years old. Even the language may have changed, right? Our understanding of that. So we are always at a loss, always trying to grab onto the light, make our decisions, by default, get to the best place we can. And that's, I think, very stressful, because we are prone, when we are in the mind field, we can act, and emotions, we can be bombarded with heavy duty emotions. And it's impossible to change your thought or change your mind once you get into the emotional state. So the very gifts we have, not understanding our mind or operating system, we actually start to work against us. So we are, I would say, very fragile. We have willpower, but somehow we become fragile just because there's also suffering. People are dying, there's a lot of disease, there's a lot of viruses. We have to deal with the real issues, right, in life too. So what is then, how do we create great value through God's mind? And now I'm just talking about, you could be swaying in these three lenses. So I'm just using this word God. You could use it higher power, higher consciousness, super consciousness, whatever, nature, whatever. But how do we, and in some form, we all worship and look up to that. So there's obviously a lot of value for that. We hold a lot of value for that big thing. We're looking up for answers. But what value are we creating through this relationship of ours with the cosmos or God? So when it comes to that, then it becomes even more interesting that how do we create the best value? You can actually ask somebody to be truthful. Okay, I can see transparency, that you reveal yourself, but when it comes to a lot of truth, people have their own personal version of truth, right? So again, we can get into that conflicted space. So I think when it comes to this, the goal has to be really big for us to wake up in the morning and feel strong all day. Humans sway very easily because we have access to so many energy systems, so many dimensions, and so much information that we can get off our rocker so quickly. Very easily we are thrown off our steadiness. So I found that in my journey, that having the biggest goal possible, aim possible, was probably saving me a lot from that unnecessary wear and tear. So, and by having a goal that is really big, I don't mean by creating 10 houses and a lot of real estate. I don't mean that, because we all know that once we've achieved somewhat part of the goals, we've moved on to others. So they're not as important. But how about nobility? How about feeling good in you? High self-esteem for yourself, high worth for yourself. Just feeling good about being alive, and your relationship to nature, your, other realities that we've created. So I like to keep it simple, and have found that if we have the strong goal, we don't fall as easily. And to me, then it becomes very important each day to be creating it consciously in my life, doing something that will actually suit that big goal. Because once we forget the goal, if we have it just written in somewhere, if your to-do list is not aligned with your aim, your bigger goals, then somewhere again we can fall. And we are fragile. So I'm going to tell you something that honestly that I did not have regard for earlier on in my years, which is one way that we can create probably the highest value and stay on target is discipline. Now, I hated it because I was very rebellious myself. And I thought that how dare the world impose thoughts on me, tell me how to behave, and all of that stuff. So, to my own detriment, I actually did many things which went against what my own aim, my own goal. And it became more and more tough. It's even a miracle that I've survived this. So I didn't have this knowledge or maturity then. So, what do I mean by discipline? Discipline to me is really simple. It's not about anything else. It's about even waking up at the same time, unless, of course, there's a problem, a sickness or something else. Just a discipline there. Discipline and having, and what works for me is really your word. If we can discipline our speech, our words, are they aligned to the bigger goal? Or are they going to rob your energy? So if we could just watch, have the discipline of speech and use the right words to hit our aim, we actually are doing really well. None of us need to get to the end. We'll die before we get, it's all ideology also. But how you live today is real for you. So if you could just use some of the goals, and speech is one big one. I think that words, we can create words, and with words we can create our world. You can actually change your world, your mind, your world with words. So this discipline about watching our words, and not always what we are saying, of course, what we are talking to others. I'm very interested in self-dialogue. What are you saying to yourself? That is what creates the big drain, right? So it's what are you saying? What words are you using? So I like to go there, and for years I've been watching this pattern, and I think it really works. So if we did nothing else, if you started with one discipline, waking up, that'll remind you of the big goal. And now you don't have the pressure that you have to meet the end, because every day working on your goal is, in other words, attainment of the goal. You are achieving something every day by just being focused and doing it. So it needn't be, our focus needn't be the end. It is actually the path itself. So I found that very easy for me. And I found that when we follow and share this type of strategy, which is quite simple, it just, things start to improve. Now, what happens is when you first start to do it, people say, oh, I feel really challenged. A lot of stuff came up for me. Yes, it will, because it's not a challenge. So once you start to work towards this deeper transparency, deeper truth, whatever is in the way will show up first. So whatever is blocking you will show up. So when we even do a lot of work on ourselves, the challenges show up first. The problems that are holding you back will show up first. With this discipline strategy, and as simple as that, we could actually probably meet our challenges really well. And if we meet the first challenge, that means more space has opened up, more awareness, and then we are able to look at the next challenge in an easier manner. And then another challenge. Before you know that you're actually dealing very well with your daily challenges. And then from that space opens another space. But this is what brings me to meditation. And for me, that is the most powerful vehicle for transformation. And spiritual transformation is radical. It brings results quickly. It shifts every aspect of you, not just one aspect. So that's what I like, because I kind of like shortcuts. So the meditation that I'm going to do today, and I like to do, is we go into this. It's not just silence, because there's always chattering going on. We start to focus on the space where thoughts are happening, where emotions are happening. Because all behind these thoughts and emotions and feelings and the personal I and the revenge and the reward and all of that stuff, all your stories cannot exist. They exist in some space. We exist in some space. So seldom do we actually focus on that level of consciousness, on that space vibrations, because we are always trying to feel good or do this. So they are different meditations. So today we'll do a meditation which will take you into the space, and as we see how even your body will respond within few minutes into that space. So we don't need to program another goal in our meditation. We want to create spaciousness, expansiveness. So then we can actually have this is how we raise our consciousness. Yes, we can do it with our actions. Yes, we can do it with our thoughts. But when we meditate on pure space, which is not programmed yet, you can hit much higher levels of consciousness very quickly. So this is a great strategy, this particular meditation that I'm going to do. So we can later have a little talk if there's any questions. But if it's okay, should we get into the meditation?
Sure.
Yeah?
Sure.
And then we can, if there's something to be talked, we'll get it from there. Okay. So lovely. So, yeah. Great. Do not go to sleep on me now that I've turned off the lights. So the back should be straight. Try to keep the spine straight, because you'll feel more energy. And feet planted on the floor. And hands, it's always good to have palms open and just sitting like that on your thighs. Now, if your attention moves, it'll be easy to bring it back once we create the space. So follow my words. When you no longer need my words, then you are in your own space, and that's perfectly fine. So if I mention some colors and you cannot see the colors, it's no problem. Pretend. If you cannot pretend, you don't have to do it. So you're absolutely free. Lovely. So let's start with a nice smile. Okay. Nice deep breath. Almost touching yourself head to toe. And now place your attention on all sounds outside your body. So there could be coming from the room, there could be coming from outside of the house. And then move your attention from sound to sound. So do not analyze or try and understand where the sound comes from. Just move the attention from sound to sound outside of you. move your attention now to inside your body, space inside the body. So listen to the sounds, move attention from sound to sound. Could be the heartbeat, could be the pulse, or any other sound. Place your attention on the tongue. Tip of the tongue is touching the upper palate. Place your attention on the tongue. Visualize blue color in the left side of the brain or the head, left side of the head. Blue color. If you cannot see the blue color, it's fine. You can imagine, or any other color will do. Fill up the left side totally with this beautiful color. You can probably feel the difference energetically both sides now. And now right side of the head. Now blue light moving from within both sides. Beautiful, vibrant light. It's a great flow in the head. Light comes down into the face, the neck, the back, the entire body. Just feel it as you go down step by step, everywhere. All cells being filled with this blue light. Slowly take it down, all the way down, into the legs, into the feet, and melting into the earth, thousands of feet deep, grounding you, rooting you in Mother Nature. We're going to use our sound now 5 times. We'll repeat the sound of Om loud and clear. And as you do so, you can see this blue light from within spreading outside in the auric field. So loud and clear, deep breath. Through your own voice, you will magnify this healing force. Last time. Into the space. Thoughts will be moving through this space. Images, feelings may move, but your focus is the space. Somewhere space will not be outside you. You will feel these thoughts moving through you because you are the space. You're not bound by body space. You are the expanded space. Bring the attention to space. Every time I repeat the word space, bring your focus there. space, 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 3 rounds of Om again, and 3 minutes of silence before we end. So, nice deep breath. I am the space in which life happens. Come to the blue color again. This time, feel it first in the right side of the head, right side of the brain. Into the left side. Both sides equally filled with blue healing light. Let us send healing first to the children of the world. So let's project this beautiful light. Let there be no child without a smile. Let the children be fed, protected, safe, guided. Let there be mature adults protecting them, keeping them safe, guiding them always. Send the blue light to all humanity. Let there be awakening, enlightenment, awareness, alertness, conscious living. Now send this light into the oceans, the sea life, the plant life. Let all beings and things be in harmony and balance, and find healing and move towards higher vibrations. Take a nice deep breath. Rub your hands. And you can move your hands head to toes 3 times. It's a nice blessing. Okay. So we have a few minutes we can share, but I just want to end with, again, recapping that the biggest goal possible and discipline that actually, whatever you do with words or waking up at a certain time, a discipline that fits the big goal. It's really simple. So so I just want to see, you wouldn't believe it. It's actually about 22 minutes of meditation.
Really?
Yeah. It seemed to move fast, but yeah. So time kind of changes when you're in the space, So it's a different sort of chemistry there. So we can share. We have a few minutes. We can share. If there's a question first, I'll take that. And if there's just experience you want to share, I would love to hear that. So anybody, if you feel like it, if you want to hold the stillness, absolutely fine. I respect that.
It was interesting with the, you got lost in space, and then you would, as soon as that happened, you would say space, and I would be in a different spot. So
Yeah.
it would be you're at a lake, you're in the mountains, or you're opening up in a group of trees or whatever, and then you felt like you were nowhere, and then you'd say space, it's like you saw it. And you'd go,
Yeah,
okay, here we go.
yeah. I usually know from the group that where everybody is swaying, so it's just practice, I kind of sense that. And
I heard my head hit here.
oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
It's his house.
it could create enlightenment, Randy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's the mind is so trained. The language of silence, one may say, when we go into the silence, we still have images, we still have some dialogue going and something happening. So unless you've really trained your mind for stillness, it'll keep offering something, options, choices to you. Hey, what about this? Didn't you like this? And what about that blue color? Do you really like this? And then when you go to the blue color, oh no, it's a Great Lake, but that's when something happened, then it's a story after story. So the mind, the memory works like that, and the mind works like that. So we've trained it like that. So you have to really remind all the time that it's not a feel-good meditation, but it becomes so good, your life becomes so good when you can hold the space. And the space is not outside. You have to almost see that these thoughts are happening in you. I am the space. I am where my unconscious mind, my conscious mind both operate. I am where everything happens, but I am the space. Also that, but right now I'm choosing to be in the space. You're also that. You're also your conscious mind. You're also your troubled mind. You're also all of those realities. But this is the focus for this meditation, to just hold the space, not those realities what you've created, because those movements are all thoughts and ideas you've created. But we want to just get into the blank space. And when you heighten the vibration, raise the consciousness of this, then you can perceive, you see the world in different ways that you wouldn't have otherwise seen with the same mind. So it gives you now, so you go out, you again practice, you again create your realities, and then you come back to your space. So this becomes home, in which there's true nurturing and expansiveness occurring. And this holds you when you're sick, when you're traumatized, when you are, because if you can create that space, it's very easy. And in this space, you don't have that personal I. Personal I is floating somewhere, but you've hit another level of I, another consciousness. So the troubles actually are little removed, and we can manage life then from this space. Yeah.
Well, I found it very powerful.
Yeah?
I did, yeah. I think there's something about the tongue on the roof as well.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
more graphic
Yeah.
for me to be on the eye, but
Yeah.
the
Those techniques up front, listening to the sound is very powerful. If you do nothing after that, you just listen to the sounds, you will actually go into a quiet space. You'll start to feel quietness. And then if you can move it inside, it actually becomes quieter still. And that's very powerful technique. So through the act of listening, we can get into the quieter space. So it's active technique. It's really good. And tongue is very powerful. This technique is very powerful. Another one that really works to get into absolute still space in seconds is focus on the exhale. Your mind is not operating that way as you are doing in inhale. Inhale, you see everything, you perceive everything, your world is alive. And there's a mechanism inside where everything shuts off for a split second, that is the exhale. So if we even don't do anything, we just start to do the exhale. And all of a sudden, you've got, you're just connected much deeper. Yeah. So how is it?
I'm quite the novice. I started meditating in January using a guided CD,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I do it for the first half hour in the morning. And so this is pretty new to me, Ruby,
Yes.
and I'm still trying to overcome the challenge of an extremely active mind
Yes. Yes.
to find that stillness.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I grasp it momentarily, sometimes for a little bit longer,
Yeah.
but it slips so easily.
Yeah. You know that little bit longer, that part gets longer and longer, and just one fraction longer. We all start the same way. You're not the only one. We're all the same way because we're very addicted to working with the mind, because that's how we live our life and that's how we've been trained. So sometimes it's a split second, a spark of quiet. All of a sudden it hits, and then it'll change. So when that spark hits, you don't try and hold on to it. The second you start to hold on to it, you lose the space. So it's really, so you have to kind of be really kind to yourself. Know that this practice in itself is more important to you than space today. When you make the practice your goal, the space will reveal itself.
Thank you.
So it's really simple. People who want to find God or whatever, if they drop their practices, it's in between the practices you see glimpses of what you are looking for. Always in between that fraction of a second, you get the glimpse and boom, inspiration and another level. But if you try another one that Eric really helps, that this for very people who are active, like the thoughts don't stop. You actually choose a thought, but you choose it. Don't let it come. Say, okay, I'm going to think about this. I'm going to think about this. You start to think about it. Then you actually flip and say, I'm going to think about what I'm thinking. I'm going to think about what I'm thinking. The minute you go to another level, you're removed. That charge is gone. And soon you'll actually hit a space like, I can't think. You won't be able to think. Because when you start to think consciously, you cannot think. You can only think in small pieces, bite-sized pieces. It's not a continuous thinking. It's a thought. And thought can be managed. We need thoughts. But overthinking is not what we need. So if you just say, okay, I'm going to consciously bring a great thought. I see it. I feel I can see the thought. Okay, I'm going to think about what I'm thinking. And you start to smile. You won't be able to. And there's another silence gap. It's really cute. I love this one. Yeah, it just works. Yeah, you can go to another level. I won't confuse you. But then you totally drop the mind. Because then the operative system has shifted. So you choose a thought. You don't choose thinking. And choose, so if you're going to think, then choose your thought and think consciously, not just random thinking, right?
Yeah, this is new to me because normally we always say that if you try to stop a thought, the more thoughts will come.
Yes,
The
yes.
harder you try,
Yeah,
the harder.
yeah.
It's,
But look at the
so-
thought
but-
and actually absorb it, that, okay, I'm thinking of this. And now I can guarantee you, when you start to think of that thought, your charge will be a lot less. Your addiction to thinking, that flow is not there. Because you've split it already. You've separated it yourself. You've separated your awareness and focus. So now you are watching this one, and that doesn't hold. It has to pass. And then when you go to another level, then I'm going to think what I was thinking about. That's your final level. Oh, boom, it's gone. You're going to have to search for that thought. You can't find it.
So you have to try it.
You have to try it.
You have to try
You
it.
can actually, we could have done it. It takes a split second to do this. And you can do this with, so you can create a negative thought, and then you can create a positive thought. and both outcomes are the same. It doesn't matter what the emotion was, both of them meet the same outcome. Yeah,
Yeah, 4 minutes I tried the other
Yeah.
day. We always say that, okay, either you can say, this is not my thought.
yeah,
Thought comes to you, you say, it's not my thought.
Yeah.
It's coming from somewhere. Or you can say, thoughts will come and go. So
Yeah.
you are not analyzing your thoughts.
Yes.
Only the thoughts actually fade
Yeah.
away.
yeah.
But that takes more time. But this one is.
It takes more time,
That
and
is
that's
right.
it. You are then the observer. Okay, I'm moving to another level. I'm actually going to the participation level. That you are the creator, I'm the creator. I'm going to watch what comes into my house. And if I don't like it, I'll close the window. And if I can't close the window, I may put some security locks. So I like to be very active as a participator in my life. I don't just want to be the observer of my life. So I just feel that I like that step where I can participate. Because in everything I'm participating, right? My food choices, my mind choices, my clothes choices. So how can I, when it comes to my biggest asset, the mind, then I must actively participate in that. So that's my sense that. So this was one of the meditation techniques. So every Thursday we go slightly different. I introduce different techniques. All these techniques basically are channeled, have come to me over the years with my own practice. So they actually, and when I've shared them, they've been working like charms. So try these, it's good.
So sometimes when you chant, it will focus you or it relaxes, whatever. Because you didn't do it today, in the corner over here there was a melody that was that just sort of came, and so that brought it
Yeah.
out a little bit. I'm not sure which one it was.
The novice,
Yeah.
the new guy.
I usually do a healing chant, and then we go into silence. I'll do it for you.
It's just like you almost finish yours and he would
It's
go
just-
on with this melody.
Yeah,
And
okay, well, I'm glad,
And
because
it
I
kind
was
of-
like, are we out of sync? Am I gonna get fired?
It's punishment for
we
you.
have one musical
Remember,
question.
reward and punishment. I should close this here, and we can still chat if we need to. But thank you so much for joining me here, and thank you out there. So follow the techniques, follow the meditation. If you find wisdom in this, please do share with friends and family. We can change our lives and our world one thought at a time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, how sweet.